All right. Hello, everybody. For the last session for today, I'm back. This is Andrew Rowe. I am joined by three ladies. I have three GTA leads from across the world. I have Jeanette, Lanny, and Kelly. Would you mind introducing yourself first before we start with the discussion?
Hi,
Who's going to start?
If you want me to start in the order that you went, I'm Jeanette.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Founder and CEO of Tech Nordic Advocates. So we cover the 5 Nordic and the 3 Baltic countries.
Okay. Kelly, Lenny.
Go ahead. Lenny, if you would like to go first.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Welcome and congratulations to TEEA. I am Lanny Medina, and I am the founder and lead on Tech Bay Area Advocates, which is the San Francisco Bay Area, North and East Bay, and Silicon Valley.
Hi, everyone. It's so great
and Kelly.
to be a new group in the Global Tech Advocates Networks. And I'm Kelly, and I'm the head of Belgium of Sandy Group, and I'm also the lead of Tech Student Advocates.
Fantastic. So I have to tell you that it really feels nice to be together with you, to be another group within Global Tech Advocates. Earlier, a couple of hours ago, 2 sessions ago, actually, I spoke to Russ. We were talking about, the idea of Global Tech Advocates and Tech London Advocates as well. And if I look back, sort of 12 months ago, this was actually the first time I met Jeanette in Denmark. And we started talking about, Tech Nordic Advocates, and that's how we sort of joined the community. What I wanted to start with is to ask you about your very beginning, in the Global Tech Advocates community, how you guys started and how it kind of, what it meant for you. And I know that Jeanette is sort of the, not the eldest among us, but the eldest sort of member of the Global Tech Advocates Network. So I'll start with you.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I was about to say, oldest kid on the block, and that is absolutely true. Well, you know what? I mean, I think it's all about inspiration, isn't it? And seeing what is possible. So I'm Danish and British, with a Swedish father. So I'm kind of a true Viking and a Brit at the same time, and have lived so many years in the UK and kind of been part of the tech ecosystem in the UK for very many years, 25 plus years. And so, I met Russ, and Russ is a persuasive man. And so he was very excited about Tech London Advocates. So I'm involved in Tech London Advocates, and Russ and I sat on the London Tech City Steering Group together and so on. And Russ really came up with the idea and said, look, why don't we go and do this in the Nordics? And I think fast forward, I just saw in London what was possible when you join the dots, right? You bring people together and bring the right people together, you can make amazing things happen. And in my head, when Russ aired it, I guess my head went, right, I took a bit of persuading, but there's a similar, if you like, fragmentation in the Nordics as we had in London when Russ started TLA, right? So there was a case for trying to join the dots, not only across the ecosystem, but also in the Nordics, because each country is too small really to offer scale and access to risk capital and talent and everything, alone. So we have to join the dots on 2 fronts, on the ecosystem front, but also on the country front. And so I think, the shortest answer is, I saw what we were able to do in London and kind of cross-reference that to the same problem, if you like, in the Nordics, and thought, right, let's go and do it.
Perfect. So now we have 2
history, as
large
they say,
countries. we have the US, or specifically the Bay Area, and we have China, Shenzhen and Shanghai. So how did you guys join the network? If you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Maybe.
Lani, go ahead first.
I think for how Senti joined the Global Tech Advocates Network, it needs to back to about 5 years ago when John, the founder and CEO of Senti Group, met Russ in one of the events, and then they have a very nice chat about the UK technology community and then the China community. And then after they met each other, they did lots of different collaborations. And then Russ was very excited to share the concept about the GTAs and then the talent and advocates. And John's find the same things happens in China. Lots of the China investor know more about the areas in the Europe country or like in the rest of the world. And it will be we can become the bridge between the China and then the rest of the world. That's the reason that we landed in our headquarters in China, which is Shanghai, and then after that we expanded our market to the Greater Bay Area as well, so that we developed passions and advocates.
Awesome. And Lani, what about the Bay Area?
So I got started from a passion and a history of working with entrepreneurs inside and outside companies, and a connection to Russ. I've known Russ we've known each other for 30 years. I know he's laughing because it keeps getting to be a bigger and bigger number. And we worked together at American Express. You are laughing as well, Andrew. We basically worked together.
Because this number is growing for everyone.
It is,
isn't it?
It is.
Exactly.
So it's, we worked together at American Express and then again at Schwab. And he went on to London to work and live. And I remained in the Bay Area. So that is how I got started, is he convinced me to go to an event. It was a TLA event in San Francisco at Rocket Space. And when I saw all the magic in the room and a lot of people that I knew and understanding the mission of working for the greater good of the tech community, which is also a tech for good mission for the overall community. We work well, we can help the world, seriously. So that's how I got started. And it was a very easy transition.
Awesome. And so you said you said there was this magic in the room. So what I wanted to ask you about is your experience of working with advocates, and I'm talking about advocates within your groups. But later we're going to start talking about working with advocates across the world, actually, because there's almost 20,000 of us right now.
Right.
So what's your experience with working with advocates?
All excellent experiences. So at our launch, we had several people coming. I knew some. Russ brought many, of course, and the secretary of our current advisory board met his future business partner at our launch. He also met his co-lead on the blockchain working group at our launch. So two great connections. There are 4 organizations that started, one also helping entrepreneurs in a more global sense. Hello Alice, it's called. And then 3 others that came as a result of our launch, which was at the Caper Center for Social Impact. Very high organization run by the Capers, who he invented Lotus 123, for those of you who remember what that is. So it has always been very, very high. We have also, over our events, so we've had, I would say probably about, we're up to 13 events over 4 years. And it was an opportunity to put people in the Bay Area together who wanted to meet each other. So for example, Gabe, who runs the CEO of Draper Venture Network, always wanted to meet Che Voigt, who's on our advisory board of the North Bay Angels. And not only did they meet, they did a panel together. It was a very powerful panel. And and then the relationships continue. So people do get funded, people do meet up, they have ideas, they collaborate, they connect. And I don't want to steal the thunder from your future questions, but when you do ask about what happens during tragedies, the Tech Bay Area advocate community is very, very clear about how they support each other within through not just COVID, but remember, we've had, several natural disasters in terms of wildfires, and that has really been a wonderful experience. So it's very tight knit in many ways, on many levels.
Kelly, what has it been like for you? How you have been working with with the advocates from across China, from Shenzhen and Shanghai as well?
Yeah, I think the experience is great, and then we get a lot of good comments about the community, and then a lot of requests saying that, oh, I would like to join the community. And I think that what is the most attractive thing is for the power of the network. How when one's advocates join this network, and how quickly he can go around the world and then search the resources they want, especially in China. And because for Senti, we are a digital platform to sharing resources. And then for the networking we have in China, and when we introduce global tech applications to them, saying that, okay, there is a network that you can easily access to the resources all around the world. And if you're looking for partnership, or like if you're looking for joining the events, or like just noting of partners around the world, it is a great opportunity for you. And then we got lots of good feedback of this. Like, for example, when we holding the Tech China Summit for Global Tech Advocates 2 years before, and then we bring a lot of advocates from all around the world to China to show that, oh, what's happening in China, and what is the latest technology, what is the investor looking for all around the world. And we got a lot of good feedback on this, and we are hoping to do more. And then from the newsletter, Russ sent it out yesterday, and we're going to do more events during this year, and then we're hoping to do more later on.
Thank you, Kelly. Jeanette, how has it been for you?
Yeah, do you know, I think I was thinking about that as Lanny and Kelly were talking, actually, because I think there's a big part of your question or the answer to it as well, which is actually cultural. So I would completely expect you, Lanny, to say exactly what you said, because us in the rest of the world, we kind of associate Silicon Valley with collaboration and ecosystems and openness and reaching out and so on. So that's very much in line with what I would expect you to say. I think our experience in the Nordics at the beginning was quite different to that. And you have to remember, sort of, historically, we are Vikings, we fight each other, right? And so right at the very beginning, when I kind of started on working on the launch, a couple of guys from different Nordic embassies in London said to me, "What the hell are you trying to achieve here? Are you trying to get the Nordic countries to work together?" And that seemed like a bit of a strange thing to try to do. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, because we have to, and that's the way the world is going. We're living in an open innovation world. We have to understand that we're going to make 2 and 2 equal 5. We have to work together. We're just too small to be sort of self-centered and focused on our own country alone." And I think now with the 5 years, that we're actually 5 years old this year, and with the passing of time, I think that notion has really caught up with everyone in the Nordics, that we do now across the board understand that we have to work together. So Nordic Innovation Body is all about having a Nordic brand. Our Finland friends have kind of coined the term the new Nordics, which is not only about the 5 Nordic countries, but also about the 3 Baltic countries that we are very proud of, part of our network as well. So I think really time has caught up with us. So at the beginning, there was probably a little bit, what is it you guys are doing that we can't do alone? And now I think absolutely people completely understand we have to create a larger home market across the new Nordics in order to provide scale opportunities for everybody. So I think, the experience then is quite different to the experience now, actually.
Mm-hmm. And I remember one of our sort of global meetings when we were talking about different groups across the world. And what I would like to ask you about now is because when you think about it, there's quite a few different communities around the world. I'm talking about tech communities. What do you think makes us different, us as global tech advocates?
There's one answer and one answer alone to that. And I speak, of course, from the point of view of the Nordics and the new Nordics. There is no one else that has a pan-Nordic Baltic network like we do. And there is no one else that has immediate access to a global network the way we do. And that is becoming increasingly important. Let's call it a differentiation for us, right? If we compare ourselves to the national networks, there are very many fabulous national networks in Denmark, Sweden, Finland, etc., doing a great job in whatever they are doing. We're not trying to do what they're doing. What we're trying to do is join the dots and be the gateway to the rest of the world, and the gateway from the rest of the world into the new Nordics. And no one else can do that than us.
I absolutely.
What about Chinese communities or American communities? Go ahead, Len.
Absolutely concur with Jeanette. The curated membership, the way that we invite people in, provides a connection early on. So that referral network is very powerful. Also, there are other ecosystems, but we really are quite unique. And one of our biggest differentiators is our diversity and our inclusivity. That is so important. It makes that global mindset clear, especially, you talk about the Nordics, being the fighters and so forth. The United States is really almost an island mentality, just everyone's in their own little world, and reaching out to the globe is not as frequent as it might be when you're living in Europe, which it's beautiful to see people have their mind shift, change. That makes collaboration easier. That makes our projects more effective. And it all really works well together.
Yeah, I completely agree with you too as well. I think what makes us unique is the four ecosystem. Like for other ecosystem focusing technology, they would be only focused in membership. Like if you join the network, you can enjoy these kinds of resources. But I think the way for us to generate resources is quite different. I think we quite will the local support, like from a local subgroup. How can we gather in the resources locally? And then we deliver the resources to the main part, which the GKA network. So this bring the resources generate much quicker, and that's what diversify, and it's easily to connect to each applicant.
Do you think that COVID now, I mean, the pandemic, has been a test for our community? And have we sort of managed to pass the test?
I think we've been there, actually, Andrew. I'll tell you what, it's been an incredible asset to TNA. And I tell you why. So Russ was touching on it a bit earlier on in the intro speech about PMCT. So we in TNA, along with TLA, right, we launched the COVID-19 Startup Ecosystem Resource Hub, and actually have attracted funding from both Danish government and private foundations and so on to help digital tech startups and ecosystem through the pandemic in a whole range of ways. And the argument that we heard from every single funding source was that the reason they put their weight behind TNA and not another body to provide this resource hub was access to an international network. So we can access investors in Silicon Valley, in London, in China, in Singapore, in Central Eastern Europe, anywhere. I can pick up the phone or shoot a message to my co-leads, a few of you here, in a couple of minutes around the world. And you just can't, as one of our funding sources said, it takes years to build a network like that globally, and you come with it ready-made. So it's been an incredible asset to us that we can help all those, Nordic companies that rely so badly on exports because of our small size. When the rest of the world got shut because of COVID, we are the guys that can provide links to investors, growth partners, mentors, coaches, whatnot around the world.
Well, we've been quite busy over the last few months, haven't we?
Mad. Yeah.
Lanny, Kelly, do you think we passed the test?
I think COVID changed a lot on our working style. Like previously, we maybe go out a lot for the meetings, or like we would like to meet each other face to face in order to have a better communication. Everything need to be stopped and shops to be closed, and we need to stay at home to work. But I think it is a good chance for the business all around the world and then to connect globally, because it is the easiest way and most convenient way to do so, and it brings a lot of good case around, and then we can just connect each other by making a video call like us, and then to go around the world instantly. And that's as Jeanette saying, it is a good community for the Chinese community to connect to globally as well.
Lanny?
It's absolutely improved what we do, because we are able to pipe in virtually. And in terms of TBAA, Tech Bay Area Advocates, it is altering how we are doing our events for the next year and a half. We are bringing in 2 to 3 hubs at a time, a few times a year, to speak about what they do and how they can connect, so that they can actually connect with people in the Bay Area who are online. And we believe that that will be another powerful way to make the connection real. So I think we have definitely passed the test and have stayed positive, and people learn from our example of supporting each other and collaborating, and that is very powerful for getting these startups going. Well done, everybody.
So tell me one thing now, because when you speak, or when I speak to different people, I am often asked, what's in it for me? Like, why should I join this community? Do you have a ready answer for people like that?
In our region, what people are most attracted to is access. If you ask me what the key differentiators are, yes, it is diversity and inclusion, but access to the globe is so important, because it is not easy to find that. One quick email or a couple of emails away, 2 degrees of separation to getting a connection in another part of the world who would have interest. That's why there is the loyalty and interest in joining the network. So yes.
Yes, I think the global access is very important for us, and then also that the networks is getting stronger and stronger, and then I think a lot of advocates joining us is looking for the growth of the whole network as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I concur entirely. Absolutely, there's no question. And I think you touched on the whole diversity and inclusion and so on as well. And I think, it's so important out there that we kind of teach the world. It doesn't matter if you're, Swedish or Chinese or American or whatever you might be, you come together around this cause. So we work quite a lot with the whole kind of female founder, women in tech agenda at the moment in the Nordics, in addition to COVID and our usual business as usual work. And that is really high on the agenda as well. And I think, again, the way that we can access mentors for female founders in the Nordics, whether they be female mentors or male mentors, is important to have both, right? Again, is incredibly important. And as I said earlier, I think we are more and more known for the guys for the global network. That is how people see us now. And the fact that we can sit here like that and I can ping Lanny or Kelly in a second and say, hey, why don't we do this together? is phenomenal.
Okay, so we've been talking about the Global Tech Advocates Network right now, but I would like us to have a look at the emerging Europe region right now, because we have a new large, geographically the largest group joining the Global Advocates Network. How do you see the region from your perspective? What is it gonna add to the global community? What do you think, and what are you counting on, perhaps?
In the Bay Area, we are counting on integrating more and more of the area into what is happening here, either from two perspectives, as tech company employees in Silicon Valley, and then as the startup entrepreneurs all throughout the Bay Area and 4 distinct regions of the Bay Area. So very, very, very welcome and very encouraged about opening these doors. And
Andrew, I mean, we had an event together in Copenhagen, didn't we? And we had another one in Stockholm, the same events, right? And I think it's like anything new. It's learning about opportunity, but also addressing prejudices, really, which tend to be based on ignorance, right? So you guys, there's a lot of, it's a whole bunch of developers in Ukraine and so on. Now, that's all good, and they are all great, but there's so much more in your region than all the phenomenal developers in Ukraine. And certainly I learned in the event in Copenhagen and in Stockholm as well, all the innovation that's coming out of your region, and I think there's a huge opportunity for us to learn that. Yeah. So we have several members from your region in Tech Nordic Advocates, and some of the things that they are bringing to our other members that tend to be in the Nordics has been quite extraordinary, whether it's blockchain or AI, and the vigor with which you go about doing things to hugely standardizing an enormous region. But I just think it's an eye opener, like anything else. When you start working with new people, is like, let's see what they've got. You bring something new to the table in addition to massive size and skills. So I think I look forward to learning much more about that.
I think on the tech advocate perspective, of course, we are very welcome to everyone, such a big group to joining the advocates and then to bring more new resources to the network. Also, I think the Chinese investor or tech community is very keen to know more what's happened and something new in the Europe and seek for new collaborations there. And then one more new we're collaborating with stringent organizations to opening a new tech hub in Brussels, to the center of Europe. So that's, I think it will be a very good opportunity to collaborate to bring more new stuff into the innovation hub, and then to bring benefits to both advocates and for all of our advocates members to join this network to get more new resources there.
What I found very interesting from what Russ said during our fireside chat was that emerging Europe is quite strategically located between Europe and the United States and also China, and that can play a huge role for our community going forward. Do you share that?
Yes,
idea
I think
as well?
because geographically there is a big gap in between, and then for the new group is just covered it, and then I think that there is a lot of country there, a lot of new opportunity, a lot of good technology there, and I think that for all of the network globally, we are keen to know more about it, so that of course we're sharing this to our advocates as well.
Lanny, Jeanette, anything to add?
I think it's exciting. I think it's phenomenal. It's like we wrote a funding application earlier in the week, and I put, we are 17 global tech hubs, and within a day or so, we are now 18. And it's just the speed with which we've gone about this is just incredible. That document is out of date, it's 2 days old. And I just think it's fantastic. It's and Russ has so many more sibling networks up his sleeve as well. And so we have a board meeting in TNA in a couple of days. So we will no longer be 18; we'll be like 20 something. And I just think it's brilliant. It's and again, it's I think it's testimony to the kind of people that get involved, right? It probably all started with Russ's enthusiasm and passion and persuasion skills and so on, and therefore, of course, he manages to bring on other people with similar kind of excitement and dynamism and persuasion skills and all of that. And so it transcends down, doesn't it, in the organization. And I love that. It's the speed with which we can do things is phenomenal.
Lenny?
This is very, very exciting, and I think that it's only going to get better. It has happened very, very fast. Go ahead.
So tell me, I mean, we have a wide diversity of countries. We talked about, 25 countries. So, it's Central Europe, it's Eastern Europe, it's Southeastern Europe, it's Central Asia as well. How do you think, or what do you think you can guys offer those countries as well? Imagine, some of our advocates come to us and they request some support from, our global network. What are you ready to help us with?
I think from the Tech China perspective, of course, I find out that from our experience, lots of company or business that they would like to expand to China, but they don't know what to do and they don't know what kind of resources they can get or like how can they get partnership. I think it is some of the resources that China advocates can help them, and we have our local teams, and then we're going to open more subgroup in China so that local advocates can help other business all around the world that if they're interested in the China market, we can bring them together. Of course, like if they would like to connect with other community all around the world, the whole Global Tech Advocates Network is going to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
Jeanette,
I think that, anything in life, isn't it? Is give and get, isn't it? So, so the Nordic countries, have a lot of, we come into, and taking your region as a whole is totally unfair because there's so many different countries that you can't kind of cut them all, as one. But speaking very generally, there's a lot of innovation coming out of the Nordics. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity for us to come and offer that to you. But there's also a huge opportunity to access scale because the region is vast, isn't it? There's enormous opportunity to access skills. Yeah, so and not only all of your amazing developers that I touched upon before, but there's a lot of skill, right? And there's a huge digital skills gap in the UK, which Russ talks about a lot, and it's going to get much, much worse with Brexit kicking in and so on. But it's the same in the Nordics. We too lack digital skills, and so there's partnerships there, But I also think it's like with all of these things, it's education, isn't it? So teach us what you can do. If we can learn stuff that you can do, again, talking about the region as a whole, and you can learn more about what we do, again, talking about the Nordics as a whole, but there's a bunch of things that tend to characterize us, then that will generate new ideas, won't it, and collaboration. So I think it's the coming together and educating each other about what's what, should hopefully fuel a lot more innovation, collaboration, and growth for everyone.
Lenny, anything
I
to
do.
add?
I'm going to give you an example. So there's an app being built. It's not completely public yet, but it's around the rental car industry. And when last year I met with the group, and as a result of them being part of this entire Global Tech Advocates Network, they have, one foot in TLA and then another foot in Tech Bay Area Advocates. And they were able to do some incredible things very quickly because of the connections from both those hubs. So when you add you to the mix, it's you're next, so it's coming along. That's just one example of how you can take a startup, which is moving along, and once they make the connection to our network, they become more appealing to funders, because now suddenly something very local or regional is now global and therefore more scalable. So I think that, we're just beginning on some of these things, and other things are moving along at a really quick pace. And in terms of global tech advocates, very, very promising how fast things happen. Russ is kind of Superman that way. And it's, the world is big. And one other aspect that I've gotten back from, because I sent a survey out to the advocates, what do you want to see? And their ability to just kind of come to a ground zero of people that, like almost a tribe, has been very, very impactful during the past year or two. So that's all very, very good stuff.
I have one more question to ask, but before I do ask my question, I'll actually ask you a question from someone we got. We got a question from Paul. In terms of expanding the network of advocates, to what extent is it important to focus on growing the existing GTA groups versus setting up new groups? I am asking largely as a Viking whose boat ended up at the southern tip of Africa. What do you think? What's your take on that?
If I understand the question, you have to build deep and wide on a parallel path. And that is accomplished by, you have dedicated hub leaders who are interested in building their networks. And by going wide, that attracts the advocates into those networks, if that makes any sense. So it's crucial to do both. Mm-hmm. And fun.
Mm-hmm. Kelly, Jeanette, anything to add here?
I'll go with that, actually. I think that's right. I think that's right. At the end of the day, I think the real KPI here is about quality, isn't it? So, you can be 20 million people in the network and just create an enormous jungle, which benefits no one. But if you can actually create networks that are meaningful and that can bring people together to do stuff that adds value to everybody, I think that's what it comes down to. So I don't think we are in, despite what I said about the speed and our networks and global presence and stuff, I think that's fantastic. But ultimately, I think it comes down to us being able to do something like this, right? So we've got, 4 different parts of the world brought together here to have a little chat. And I think that's brings a lot of quality. There's stuff going through my head about, I must talk to Lenny about this, and I must talk to Kelly about that, and so on. And I think it's all about what we can do together. Is actually the quality angle, to me, is much more important than this speed and the size.
So, Kelly, would you like to add something?
Lenny and Jenny's point is very nice, and then I think the speed and then the quality of our resources is important, and also how our advocates demand on the global tech advocates network, what they're from us, and then what kind of new businesses they're going would like us to bring to the table, and that I think is very important as well.
Okay, so let me ask the last question now. And this is, I actually asked this question before. I asked Russ how he sees the network or the community, in the next, let's say, 10 years time. So I would like you to answer the same question. How do you see the global tech advocates network, in 2030?
Oh, it is a hard question, because I can see a lot of opportunity there, and then I don't know how the technology will change about 10 years later. I think let's split it in short term and long term. I think in short term, of course, we need to add more resources to the network, and then to help all the people in the network growing. In terms of tech channel advocates, for next year, we already planned it for open 1019 advocates. Russ joined us during the MOU signing ceremony as well. And then we're very looking forward to bring more AI resources for 19 to the Global Tech Navigator efforts. And then we're going to open 2 more new advocates. It will be Tech Hong Kong advocates and Tech Beijing advocates. And then we hopefully to launch everything before our yearly tech summit, so that we can have a bigger geographic summit to each other. I think in terms of long term, I think it will become the quality of the resources and how can we pair up the resources globally and then quite enough, and then to meet the demand of the advocates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jeanette, Lanny, how do you see us in
Well, that's crystal ball stuff, Andrew. I mean, seriously, we don't know what the world will look like in January, for God's sake, you know? It's but you know, but I think at a general level, I mean, it's back to kind of what I said before, you know, there's quantity and there's quality, isn't there? So we're obviously going to be a much bigger network. What I'd really like to see as well is solidifying. I think is probably quite a good word. You know, all of the connections and networks we have already created. Yeah. So we've done, like, let's call it trade missions. You know, we've taken Nordic startups and scale up to China, you know, a few times to London. We're doing events with Singapore, with Japan now, with, you know, the Nordic innovation houses and so on. So I see much more of that coming. And that's what I mean by solidifying, actually making real stuff happen, because we have this network, actually really leveraging it and making a huge difference to our respective regions because of it. That's what I'd like to do. Perfect,
thank you.
One of the main reasons that I got involved in this network is to help the generations younger than mine to what do they need? What resources do they need? You know, I don't want to say I'm an elder, but probably I am. And as are many of the advocates, there's a lot to impart. And it's all about what the younger generations are going to need to conquer some of the things that we are dealing with today. That is one of the main reasons that I stay involved. So what I see in 10 years is a lot of advocate base that is multi-generational. We have that on our own board, where we have several generations in our own little board, and a very diverse board. And I think that's very, very important. In terms of what impact we have on the world, what you see going on in London, where you have a quote here or a quote there, or someone from TLA doing this or doing that, imagine that for all the hubs, where you have where the press or people who need answers to questions can go and say, well, we spoke to global tech advocates, and then 3 of their hubs had the following answers to our question on fill in the blank. Everything from wine tech to you know, something else, you know, software as a service, whatever the issue is, we have that power inside of us. So I remain extremely optimistic that we can continue to scale, to build for the greater good of the tech community, which impacts the overall community that we are in.
Can I add an example to that, Andrew?
Fantastic.
Do you know what?
Thank
I'd love
you.
to add a little. And do you know what? It's a couple of hours old. So we talked about our startup ecosystem resource hub before. So about 3 o'clock this afternoon, I had a phone call from the French embassy in Copenhagen to said we're doing a piece of work to look at how different countries have supported digital tech startups, and you're doing this COVID-19 resource hub, blah, 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 blah. We had a long talk about that. And I said to her, did you know we have Tech Paris Advocate? No. She said, and I took her to our website with our global map, and she said, oh my God, I had no idea about this. And she said, well, I'm going to be writing this article, it'll be in French, and I'll quote you for this and that. And I said, well, I'll share it with the Tech Paris Advocate folks. And before long, it'll be out on the GTA channel. So thank you for the phone call. And she was completely and absolutely flabbergasted at the speed and power with which I said, you know what, you know, we've got friends around the world, we can just mass distribute this article for you. So there you are.
That is the power of global tech advocates then. Ladies, thank you very much for sharing all the insights and your experiences with us. Tech Emerging Europe is now, Tech Emerging Europe Advocates is now officially, or has now been officially launched. So we invite advocates from across Emerging Europe from the 25 countries to go to our website, emerging-europe.com/tech-advocates, and apply to join. We were saying that we are inclusive and diverse, so we are looking for those new advocates to join us. Right now, before the launch, there were already almost 100 advocates who have joined us, over the last couple of weeks. So we're looking for more. I would like to say to everyone now that we are finishing this session, but the networking opportunities will be out there for the next 60 minutes. So if you would like to connect with someone who you have already seen here in the app, in the Helpin app, do get in touch with them, do connect, do speak to them. Perhaps there will be a new business coming out of it, a new opportunity, or a new friendship, basically. Thank you very much for joining us today, and let's continue building the global tech advocates
Great.
Well done,
community.
you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Well done.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.